Here's Brody Brazil.
The situation right now between the city of Philadelphia and its 76ers is quite unique, especially when you compare it to all the other headbutting between pro sports teams and leagues and cities and counties and government entities and public subsidies that are out there, potential relocation, right? It gets messy sometimes between teams and cities and new stadium and arena situations, but it's not the case necessarily for the Philadelphia 76ers. They're actually willing to put up all the money to build 76th Place. It's not necessarily about the money, and yeah, they might get some tax breaks because of this. They also might have to pay a pretty hefty community benefits package as part of building this building, but they're willing to pay for the entire thing. So I know what you're thinking, and by the way, a huge vote could be upcoming in the next couple days to ultimately decide this project as happening or to shut it down or to delay it for a very long period of time. But the question is not so much who's going to pay for this. It's more about the physical location of this building, the neighborhood that the Sixers want to put it in, what it might replace, and also what the Sixers are saying about potential relocation. They might move to a totally different state. Right. But we're talking about Camden, New Jersey, which is like a mile or two east of this actual location. It's just across the river. So changing states, it sounds like a big deal. In reality, it's not, but also it just wouldn't feel right to have the Philadelphia 76ers playing in Camden, New Jersey. But I digress. Here's the Sixers' plans in Philly. Just to bring you up to speed, this has been out here for quite some time. A $1.5 billion plus arena called 76th Place. Again, privately financed in terms of the construction and putting this up. They're not looking for public subsidies for the building of this arena. It's a location in Chinatown that is controversial for a number of different reasons, and we'll get into that in just a second. But an important approval, it could happen this upcoming week. On Wednesday, the 11th of December, this might get voted on, approval of this project. Again, not the money part. There is no money part. The Sixers are not asking for public funds to build this arena. It's only the approval of this project actually being able to happen. But again, the location is more of the issue here. In fact, it's the entire issue here. Consultants told the city back on August 26th that this site should be considered a significant potential risk to Chinatown's core identity. If they build this building and it kind of suffocates some of the other local businesses and a lot of people coming in and out, as much as you might think that would benefit a neighborhood, it could also change a neighborhood. It could also essentially destroy a neighborhood as it stands right now versus what it could be, and to a negative aspect of building this building. The Sixers lease, it ends in the year 2031 at their current Wells Fargo Arena. That's at the Philadelphia sports complex site. The arena, the baseball stadium, and the football stadium are all on separate corners in the exact same block or neighborhood, if you will, south of downtown Philadelphia. But the point is, the Sixers lease ends in 2031. They're already on this case and trying to figure out what lies ahead for them. It's a downtown arena. It's only a couple blocks really away from the core of downtown Philly. They also, of course, and I'll show you the renderings in a second, they have to build something else with it. 395 units of residential. Obviously, the Sixers want to capture that revenue. 20% of that has to be affordable housing. Construction would start in 2028. They say this building will generate $1 billion of new taxes. I mean, that always comes with the territory of renderings and plans, and here's why it's going to be good for everybody else, not just the 76ers. They also promise that building this arena will not displace a residence or business. That's a big claim to make. That's an important statement to make, but it's a very difficult claim to make and be able to hold up to. Will not displace a residence or business, not a single one. Nobody's going to not be able to afford to live there anymore or have their business have to shut down because construction for 3 years was taking over the entire neighborhood, and that little corner restaurant, it just can't exist when the road is blocked off for 2 or 3 straight years building this building. You know what I'm saying? That's a very difficult claim to make without essentially paying for everything else to make sure that that actual statement holds true. Here's the renderings. As you'd expect, they're beautiful. Like, this would be a modern, sleek, sophisticated building. It's kind of self-contained, right? You can see the tower, like on the end closer to me, that tower, that brown tower with a lot of glass and a lot of different seams in it, that is part of this building. It's all one self-contained structure. It's got some pavilion areas. It's got some outside areas. I can see that they're trying to tribute the Chinatown neighborhood. They're trying to fit this building into the neighborhood. But again, therein lies the problem, that the neighborhood is not so thrilled with the idea of this coming to their respective blocks. I mean, yeah, look, renderings are great, and those get me excited, and those would get anybody excited. But it's amazing how many people, even after seeing those, are still greatly opposing this project. Again, it's not the financing, and that's the rare part about this. Usually with sports teams and arenas and stadiums, taxpayers don't want to give up money. Like, they don't want to have to pay and basically subsidize a pro sports team that's making a ton of money. But that's not the case here. It really has nothing to do with that. It's only and all about the location. A citywide poll across Philadelphia showed that only 18% of people that were part of this supported the project being at the Chinatown location. A lot more people said, hey, just renovate and fix up the Wells Fargo Center or build a brand new arena on that stadium and arena district site, and they would prefer that instead. Obviously, the negative potential impact to Chinatown is a huge part of this, but a lot of critics in Philadelphia say that this is just not a great site for infrastructure, for parking, for ingress, for egress. It's not built up with freeways and transportation. And yeah, if the Sixers do get to build this, they're paying for the construction. But they're also asking for some tax breaks. Plus, it would be up to the city and the county to improve public transit to get to this location. It's not necessarily built for 20,000 in and 20,000 out on a given night. And by the way, they think like only 40% of people that would come to Sixers games here are going to drive their car. Currently, it's about 85% drive to Wells Fargo Center. It's going to be about half that. So how will public transportation be able to take care of this? Who's on the hook for paying for those improvements? And that infrastructure, it's obviously not going to be the 76ers. So the big details right now, and this potential vote that could take place within the next, 48, 72 hours, depending on when you're watching this, the initial CBA, not the collective bargaining agreement, but the community benefits agreement between the team and the Chinatown neighborhood and respective businesses and community centers. The original CBA, the benefits package, was valued at about $50 million. That's from the team to these entities, I would imagine over about a 30-year period. That's typically what it is. So it's only about $1 million plus per year over 30 years. And again, for a pro sports team, that's not that much. The team at one point, they hinted that they might be able to do a little bit more than $50 million, but some city council members, the ones that will be voting on approving this or not, they're asking for anywhere between $10 and $300 million in total, or more, I should say, 300 total, or some certain large amount more than $50 million. Some are saying that $50 million is nowhere close to the community benefits package that is needed and required for something like this to happen. What they want is for local small businesses in that Chinatown neighborhood to get grants, not loans, not we'll pay you back, you pay us back over time. This is a loan for you. These city council members are going to be fighting for grants so that the money is given from the team to these local businesses and never asked for it back. Grants so that these businesses can survive, maybe grants so that residents can survive in the local neighborhood with all the different change going on. Again, all of this just to approve the project happening at the Chinatown location for the 76ers in 76th Place. So that is the current debate right now. That's the big sticking point, is the community benefits package. Great, you're paying for this yourself, but what's the additional kickback going to be? $50 million over, again, let's just say 30 years doesn't sound like enough for everybody involved. So we'll see what it ultimately comes down to. So the Sixers, right, to some degree, they've already offered up $50 million. They don't want to hear a lot of going against that in terms of needing more or kind of that number just skyrocketing from 50 and all of a sudden maybe 75 or 175 or $245 million. Like, this is all costing them a huge amount of money. Enter in the state of New Jersey. Now, this was back in September. According to the Associated Press, the state of New Jersey offered $400 million to the Sixers in tax credits for a mixed-use development in Camden, New Jersey, which again is like a short drive or walk across the river, right over in New Jersey. It's right across the way from downtown Philadelphia. Molly Mita McKendy, a 76ers spokesperson, told this to the Associated Press back in September. Quote, "The reality is we are running out of time to reach an agreement that will allow the 76ers to open our new home in time for the 2031-2032 NBA season. As a result, we must take all potential options seriously, including this one. $400 million of tax credits for free if you build your new arena in Camden across the river." Now, running out of time for 2031-32. I realize we're 2025 now. We're on the doorstep of 25, but I still think there's at least 3 or 4 years of wiggle room in there before you're actually running out of time. I think this is very preemptive to say that we're already running out of time for 2031-32. But there's more from the Sixers. This is in the last week. David Gould is the Sixers chief diversity and impact officer. David says this, quote, about New Jersey: "If we're not able to come to an agreement for this 76th Place site, then the other viable option as of right now is in Camden, New Jersey, based on New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy's proposal and that $400 million of tax credits." Right? So the Sixers are playing one against the other. And you'd have to think it's their priority to be in Philadelphia, to be downtown, to get 76th Place. They've already invested in this. But don't think for a second that if this is difficult or too costly, they'll just run right across the river. And in sports, we've seen a lot of teams that play in a different place, right? The Jets and Giants are in New Jersey, not New York. The San Francisco 49ers, they're about 60 miles south of San Francisco in Santa Clara, still called the San Francisco 49ers. The Philadelphia 76ers from Camden, New Jersey, right? I mean, this wouldn't be so far-fetched. But it's interesting to see if a deal can be struck, what happens later this week. Maybe Philadelphia gets what they want in terms of that community benefit agreement, or maybe they just shut it down entirely and say, we're done, you're on your own. And the Sixers are trying to push for this vote to happen before the end of the calendar year, before there's some turnover in the city council, before some newly elected members take their seats on the council. So the Sixers need answers, and it seems like the city of Philadelphia is about to give those answers. So stay tuned in a couple days later this week. That's the end of this video. Thumbs up down below. I would greatly appreciate that. Helps me and this video and this channel. And if you would also take one quick second, go down there and make sure that you're already subscribed to this channel. That way I definitely get to see you back here next time.